Welcome to Tabletop Events. I'm going to show you how to create a convention from scratch on Tabletop Events. First, we go up to Login. We're going to need an account. So I'll create an account using my name. Now that I have an account, I'll go up to the Conventions menu where I can create a convention. It says here that I must first belong to a group. So I'll click that link. The group here is the group of people that you're going to be working with to manage this convention going forward, as well as any future conventions. Type in a city and state. It may pre-populate for you and you can just select from the one that's there. Now that we've got our group, we can actually name our convention and go ahead and create it. And I could change the location at this point. It could be different than our group's location, but for this convention, we'll just leave it the same. So now we've created our convention. It's up and running, but we need to fill out a bunch of different data for it. This convenient checklist here shows you exactly what you need to do in what order. So I'll just start with setting the convention dates. We must give our first day a label here, so I'm just going to call it Friday. And I'm going to pick July 1st for our convention date. We'll start it at 8 a.m. And we could end this at maybe 10 p.m. On the 1st, but I want it to span multiple calendar days. It's actually going to end at 2 a.m. on the 2nd. So the system allows us to create a day for our convention that isn't a standard calendar day, and that's cool. So now we can do Saturday, and it's already filled in the information for us, so I can just hit create again. And for Sunday, I'm going to do basically the same thing, except that we're going to end it at 5 p.m. on the 3rd. So when I click the button here, I'll go back a day to the 3rd and set 5 p.m. as the time that we're going to end the convention. Now we're done. We can move on to the next step, which is to create front page content. This is very straightforward. I can just start typing here. I could also paste in some text if I wanted to, and it's going to show me a live preview as I do this. There is some formatting help down here below, so we can actually do some formatting. So for example, if I wanted to say something like this, it would format it appropriately. And if I wanted to go in and say maybe hotel information, something like that, I could also make sure that there's some bold text in here if there was something I wanted to emphasize, and it will automatically make that bold in the preview. If I want to link to something, I can literally just type in the link. So if I wanted to link to yahoo.com, I just put that in there and it will create a nice link. It grabs the name of the page to format the link for me. So it makes it very simple. I can also make these headings a little bit more fancy. I could upload an image to replace those. So I'm just going to do that quick. I'm going to grab a hotel info header here. And you can see that that just inserted the URL for that into the text, but it created the image over here. Now if I want to replace my heading, I can just do that, and now I've got hotel info right there. And maybe I'll replace this one up here, this schedule one, with registration information as well. And so I can very easily make this a much more graphical looking page. I can also go in and go to YouTube or Vimeo and grab some videos if I wanted to bring that in. I'll just go over here and grab this video and paste that right in there. So that's the URL of the video, and it will just inline it right into the page for me. So I'm really easy to make a nice looking page this way. So with that, we're done with this. So I'm going to go back up to my list here, and it said the next thing I need to do is determine the venue. So we've already stated we're going to be in Madison, Wisconsin, but I need to find a hotel in Madison that we're going to hold this at, or a convention facility. Now this actually will search Google for us as we're typing this in and pull in all kinds of cool information. So I'm going to go ahead and type in the Sheraton Hotel, and it will show us a list of venues that match that name. And sure enough, right here at the beginning is Sheraton Madison Hotel. So I've pulled that in by just typing in the name. It pulled it in from there. But if I were to go back to the home page of this, not only can you see the content that I've created here, but on the right-hand side, it's actually pulling in all kinds of cool information about Sheraton Hotel. Driving directions and a map, the address, the phone number, the link to their website, that sort of stuff. Now, if I go back to the venue section here, I can type in some information saying, tell them you are with Madison Gaming to get a discount. So that's cool that we can let people know that we have a special booked rate for this hotel, and that information then will appear right here under the venue information. So the venue now is done. Let's go on and set a refund deadline. So a refund deadline is when you want to cut off people from being able to do a refund on their own. You can still offer them refunds should you need to do that, but they can no longer do it without contacting you after a specific date. And the reason you might want to do that is your hotel usually will put a lockdown. You have to order any food or rooms or whatever. You'll have a specific date that you need to do that by, and therefore you can't afford for people to start dropping out after that specific date, because that's your kind of lock-in date. So let's go ahead and choose May 15th for that date in this case. And now we've set our refund deadline. So now I can go on to the next thing and provide some contact info. All of the information that I put in here will be available to the public on the site. So if I put in JT at Tabletop.Events, which is my email address, go ahead and email me if you have any questions. Then when I go out to the home page, there will be an email link right here that if they click that, it'll go to my email. Now, if you don't want to put that in, just don't, and it won't display it. If you have a Twitter handle, you can put that in here. There's all kinds of good information. So I'm going to go back into the contact info, and I'm going to put in Tabletop Events as my Twitter handle. And the cool thing is, again, if I go back out to the home page, now there's a Twitter link here. In addition, I've just integrated Twitter with my page. So when I make cool events happen on our site, for example, I open registration. That's a good event in the life cycle of a convention. When I open registration, it's actually going to tweet using my handle that I have opened up Tabletop Events registration for Madison Convention of Gamers 2017. So there's a nice little integration with social media that way. Moving on, we can set a look and feel. There are all kinds of interesting designs that you can choose from that are built in, but you can also totally make your own. So if you like one of these, but you want to make slight alterations to it, you can very easily do that. For example, I will go back over here to Rojo, but maybe I wanted my accent color to be, rather than this kind of dark red here, maybe I wanted it to be more of some kind of a dark gray color. So now I've changed that. I can go ahead and change all of these things. And if I happen to be an HTML or CSS wizard, I can do other things as well. For example, I could come in here and say that I wanted my links. Right now you'll see the links do not have underlines on them. So I could come in and say a link and now you can see all of the links have underlines on them. So if you know CSS, you can do some fancy stuff in here, but you don't have to. You can very easily just choose any of these styles and they will and use that for your particular site. Now if I were to refresh the page right now, you'll see that not only did it change my live preview here, but it's actually changed the entire site to that look and feel now. So I've got a good indication of what it looks like in the live preview, but if I really want to see it out on the site, I can refresh the page. I can go to home here and I can see, that red's really not working with the red titles that I've already uploaded, so maybe I want to go back to the white at this point. So I'm going to go back to set look and feel, and for the rest of the demo here, I'm just going to go back to the pale preset. And so now it looks like it did when we first logged in. And again, if I go back to the home page or I refresh, the whole site has immediately changed to the new look and feel. So from here, we're going to go ahead and create new badge types. The next thing we need to do is just define what they are. What kind of badges are we selling to our customers? So maybe we have a full weekend badge. So I'll go ahead and create that, and I can type in a description. With this, you get access to everything for the whole weekend. And we can set a price of, maybe we'll do $50 on that particular badge, and maybe we have 800 of those available. It just depends on our venue size, of course. This badge will be for sale, and we'll go ahead and make it available for the whole weekend. And another badge that we might want to create would be, we could create some for each day if we wanted to. So maybe I want to create a Friday badge. And so you can only come to the con on Friday. And we'll make that one a little cheaper because it's only a one-day pass, so maybe that one's $25. And yeah, 100 available sounds good. And we'll make that one so it's only Friday. And then maybe we can come in here and we'll have a badge for, we could create the other days, of course, but I won't bother you with that. Instead, we can create a badge maybe that is kind of a VIG, a very important gamer. And with that, what we want to say is, with your VIG badge, you get a t-shirt and early access to events. So we're going to charge more for this. This is going to be like a weekend badge, so it has to be more than $50. Let's go ahead and charge maybe $85 for this badge. And we're going to make a limited available kind of thing. So only the first 50 people can get these. It will be for sale. It will include all of the different days here, but we're also going to go ahead and say we're going to ask them for t-shirt size, because we're going to include a t-shirt with their badge. So we'll go ahead and put that in there. We'll make this a drop-down list, and then we will fill in something like that. So now we're done filling that information in. So we've got this badge here. And so if we were to go and buy this badge, this one allows us to select a t-shirt size, whereas these other badges, like the full weekend badge, does not have that as an option. So moving on, we've created some badge types. Now we need to set up our bank account information. This is so we can get paid as a convention organizer. So we have to agree to the terms of use. You can click here if you want to read that. So first we have to select what kind of organization we are, whether it's just a single person putting this information, this money into their own bank account, or if you're a business. We recommend that you actually create an LLC or something like that in your local state, so that you have some protection in case there were any kind of lawsuit or anything like that. Anytime you're dealing with a lot of different people buying something from you, it's always good to have a little bit of protection. But if you want to go in individual, you can do that. So you'll fill this out. You'll choose which one you are, and just fill in whatever your business name is at that point. And we need to verify the person that is in charge of that organization. They need to put in the last 4 digits of their social security card. So we'll do that. And then you put in your date of birth, like so. And then you need to give the address of the person that's in charge of the business or the address of the business itself. So we'll go ahead and put in and I hit save. At this point, we'll be allowed to add in our bank account number. And for this, you'll need to put in a real bank account number. But I will put in a fake number because I don't want you to steal my banking information. So now that we've filled this in, we can hit the My Conventions button and quickly go back to the convention that we were working on, and we're right back into our work. So we've set up our bank account. The last thing we need to do here, and we don't need to do these if we're not ready for this, but at this point you probably are pretty close to ready if you filled out all the information. Making this public makes it so that the convention will show up in the main conventions list here for everybody to see. And then if we open registration, that means that our attendees can actually start buying badges at that point. So now that we've opened registration, we are done with the first checklist, as you can see. However, if our convention needs more than just badges, if we're going to allow our users to submit events to us, like if we want to have board games or panels, that sort of thing, or if we want to have people be able to sign up for those events, even if we're not allowing submissions, we'll need to do this, or if we want to sell tickets to those individual things. If we just have a badge and everything is sort of a free-for-all, we don't need to do this second list. But if we do want to do user submissions, we want people to sign up for events, or we want to sell tickets to events, then we do need to enable event creation. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. You'll see here that there is a warning. You can only change these settings right now after you start this. These settings can no longer be changed, so do make sure that you set them correctly when you are ready. If you are not sure how to set these, then you can contact support by simply hitting this button down here and typing in your query. You can also, there will be a support link there for an email that you can go to, or it'll answer your question through videos, and we can help you walk you through this process. Generally in the United States, we use a 12-hour clock, and for the event duration, you can choose anywhere between 30 minutes and 2 hours. 30-minute intervals give you a lot more flexibility. You can have events starting every 30 minutes. However, it makes it much harder to manage the schedule. So you might want to consider 1 hour or 2 hour slots. For the purposes of this, we will go with 1 hour slots. And then we have to set up when will our events start and end each day. With the case of Friday, we may want to open registration at 8 a.m., but events won't actually start until 9 a.m. So we can go in and edit that. We'll allow our events to start and end with the convention for the rest of this stuff. However, on Sunday, maybe we want to end the events at 4 p.m., thus by 5 p.m., people are filtering out of the convention at that point. So I'm going to go ahead and enable event creation at this point, and we can continue on. It does give you this warning because, again, you cannot undo this after you've made these changes. So I have to be sure that I want to push this button at this point, and I am. So now that we've done that, we have a new list of things that we can do here. The first is to define event types, and we are on the page where we can do this. We have already filled in some things for you. So we have board games, card games, miniatures. We could add extra ones. We could delete some. So if we're not doing miniatures, we could go ahead and delete this one. Maybe we're not doing seminars either. But But we don't want to delete this one because maybe we're going to make this into panels instead. So I'm just going to edit this one and call it a panel instead of seminars. And then we can set in costs and other things in here. What's the max number of tickets that you can have for this type of event? So with a panel, it would be something like 50 people. That's how many people would fit in the room with you. If you were doing board game events, it would be not about the room size, but more about the table size. So your tables will hold 4 players, 6 players, 8 players, that sort of thing. So that would be the maximum number of tickets per event type for that. For the default cost per slot, we decided in the enable phase that we're going to do 1 hour slots. So let's say that each slot is going to cost an hour or $1. So that means a 2-hour game would be $2. In the case of panels, though, we're just going to make those free events. Anybody can attend those without paying anything. They just need to get a ticket. So we'll leave that at 0. And then an end buffer is how fast do people need to clear out of the room so that the next game or panel or whatever can set up. So there's a 10-minute end buffer on this one. And will we allow panels to be submitted by users? In this case, I'm going to say no. We don't want the panels to be. We will allow games, but we're going to set up the panels ourselves through industry connections. So I'm going to hit done on this one. And let's go back in and edit some of these other things. The board game, we're going to make those $1 per slot. 6 tickets per event sounds good. We're going to have 6 tables that will hold 6 people. So the rest of this is good. So I think I'm okay there. Let's see. Card games, we need to do the same thing for the cost per slot. And we're done. And then RPGs, we'll do the same thing for cost per slot, but what we're going to do there is we're going to ask them what kind of system they're going to be using. So we'll do this, and we'll make it a drop-down list, and we'll say Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. And then the next one will be Pathfinder, and maybe other is the last one that we put in. So now that we've gone ahead and done that part, we can go back. We've got our event type set up. So now we can go on and define rooms. So rooms, we're just going to fill in the various rooms that we have rented inside the hotel or convention space. So maybe we have one called the Inspiration Ballroom, and this room is where we have set up for all of our gaming to happen. So we're going to let board games, card games, and RPGs all go into this room, and then we're just going to create a bunch of tables. And we're going to say that this is 6 tickets per table. So we'll have, and I'm saying A1, A2 because I'm going to have kind of rows and columns of tables. So it's column A, row 2. If you're imagining a grid being set up with the tables. So I can go ahead and do that very quickly, and then I'll go in and we have B1, B2, and so on. So you can very quickly fill out a room, and if you misspell something, you can go back and fix that. And so now I've filled this room with some tables, and so I want to go back and create another room. And so this one is called the Wisconsin Board Room, and this is where we're going to have panels. So we'll go ahead and enable panels for that, and we've got general seating in here. Not tables or anything like that. And this room can hold up to 50 people. So now we've defined our space for that. If we had more rooms, we could continue defining all of those, but for this little convention that we're putting together right here, we only have these 2 rooms, so we're pretty good there. We've defined our spaces. So we can move on to the next thing, which is to actually create some events. As I said before, we're going to go ahead and create the panels for this convention. We're not going to allow those to be submitted. So we'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and create a panel here, and we'll call this one Women in gaming. Um, discuss how to bring more women into the field, as well as to make conventions more inviting to women. Okay, and we can fill in something else. We can set what our priority is here. This will be for auto scheduling, which we'll cover a little bit more later. We could leave this blank, but I'm going to set it highest priority. This will be a 1-hour panel. And again, there will be 50 tickets for this panel. It'll be $0 for the price, and this is open to everyone. We'll also do another panel that we'll call Kickstarting Your Own Game. And I won't fill in a description for right now, other than to say how to use Kickstarter. And we'll leave all this stuff in here as it is, and we'll go ahead and create that one. Now, if we want to schedule these events, we can hit this schedule button. This green button tells you that it has not been scheduled yet. There's also a status here that says it has not been scheduled yet. So if I hit schedule, I can select from the list of rooms. Note that it's only showing me the Wisconsin boardroom because that is the only room we've set up that allows for panels. Then I can pick what I want the start time to be for this particular panel. So I'm going to go ahead and say this one will be at 1 p.m. and we'll go ahead and search and see what's available. There's indeed only one room available at 1 p.m. because we've only defined one. So I'll go ahead and say we're going to use up that room for this particular discussion. Then I'll go back to the events list, and I could go ahead and schedule in the women in gaming one, but I'm going to leave that for right now. We'll come back and we'll see how that gets automatically scheduled in a little bit. So we'll move on to the next thing here. We can auto schedule some events, but I don't want you to do that yet. I'm going to skip over that one, and we're going to use event submission first. So I'm going to go into event submission and open that. So now people can submit events to our convention. We can set up rules for that. So right here we have some default rules, but we can go ahead and write in some other rules if we want to do that. And now under our menu here, because we've opened event submissions, we have this submit event links. So if they click on this, they can see that they haven't submitted any events, but they could submit a new one. And they get a form remarkably similar to the one that we had, except theirs has only these 3 things in it, not panels like we had. So I'm going to submit a board game, and we'll do The Captain is Dead, oh no, the captain died. Okay, we'll put that little terrible description in there, and we can fill in other information if we want to. So if people want to learn more about The Captain is Dead, they can go to its website. And now I would like this to start at, let's say, 4 p.m. on Friday, and if that's not available, let's do 4 p.m. on Saturday. The game takes roughly 90 minutes to play, so I'm going to select that, and we'll take 6 full tickets. That game can play up to 7 players, but we only have tables that are up to 6, so we'll do that. And then we'll do a age range. This is going to be teen or above. I have to agree to the rules that we've set as the convention, so as a submitter of events, I have to agree. I go ahead and create that. And I'm also a big fan of Catan, so let's go ahead and submit that as a board game as well. Okay, so we can do this. I want to start this one. I think I want to start this one at noon on Friday. And if that's not available, then let's start it at let's start at not 1 a.m. That would be a bad time. Let's go ahead and start it at 1 p.m. on Friday. Um, so that'll take about 2 hours to play. I don't have the expansion, so we're only going to do 4 tickets, and we'll do teen and above. I've already agreed to the submission rules once, so it remembered that. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that. You can see that my 2 events are in here. They are pending review. If I want to come back and edit something before it gets approved, I can still do that. And even after it does get approved as a submitter, I can still edit not the type anymore, but I can edit the name, the description, and the URL. All the other things are off limits because they were used in the purposes or for the purposes of scheduling. But these pieces of information are still there, so if I needed to make a subtle change, I could do that pretty easily. So now that these events have been submitted by whoever submits them, as a convention organizer, I can go back up here to Convention Tools, and I can see the event submissions that have come in. So we can see who they were submitted by, and I can see all this stuff and still be able to edit all the stuff that was submitted. Now in this case, I think that this description is not good enough, so I'm going to ask that whoever submitted this, please provide a better description. And so I'm going to go ahead and request changes on that one, and so then it takes me directly to the next thing in the queue. Settlers of Catan is the next thing in the queue, and I'm like, I might already have too many Settlers of Catan, so I'm going to hold off on this, and I'll review this one later. So as I've gone through and completed each of these, they're being removed from my list and sent off to wherever they need to be for future observation. So the user then is also getting emails letting them know what we've done. So if they come back to the submit event page, they'll actually see their status updates. And in this case, the Captain is Dead requested changes. So let's go in and see what they've said. Please provide a better description. I would have gotten an email saying that as well. So okay, the last 10 minutes of your favorite space opera, except the Captain is Dead. Let's go ahead and update that. And so now it's pending review again. So again, as a convention organizer, when I come into event submissions, I will see that there once again. And this time I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to edit this. Maybe we'll call it like it is. We think that this is the last 10 minutes of a Star Trek episode. Something like that. And so now we've filled in and made some changes there, and I'm ready to approve this event. I can just hit the approve button, or I can approve with priority. Now these priorities allow you to set how interested you are in having this event be at your convention. So highest priority means you absolutely want it in there, and lowest priority means, if there's some room, we'll let it in at the end. So this one, I really like this game. I'm going to make it high priority. And then before we said we'd review Catan later. So to check on that, we can actually switch this from pending to in review, and we can see, oh yeah, Catan, that's right. I was going to take a look at this. You know what? I do like this one too, but because we have so much Catan, I'm just going to make that lowest priority. So if we do have more room for even more Catan, we will let that in the schedule. So now that we've had these events going back and forth, people are submitting events, we're approving events, all that kind of stuff. We have a bunch of approved but not scheduled events in the system. So we still have the Women in Gaming event that is not scheduled. We also have the Captain is Dead and Settlers of Catan. We could go in and manually schedule each of these just as we did for kickstarting your own game. But that's really painful, especially if you have thousands of these events. So the easier way is to hit the auto schedule button. And so you can see right up here, it says auto scheduling in progress. We'll send you an email when this is complete. So the email, depending on how many events you have here, it could take a few seconds to a few minutes, but It's not going to take very long, and it will go through every event in your schedule and try to slot that in based on the rooms that you've defined and the rules that are defined on those rooms, the event types that you have created and the rules defined on those things, as well as whatever user preferences there were on the events that they submitted, like what time of day that you want it started. And then finally, also, it'll take into account those priorities that we talked about, high priority, low priority type of events. So it will schedule all of that stuff based on that, and you'll get an email saying the result of what that is. So now when you refresh the screen, you'll see that the events have all been scheduled in the schedule. And we can actually go out to the public schedule that everybody sees, and sure enough, here they all are. They're available right in the schedule, and they were, slotted in right when we had available slots. Now, of course, we didn't have very many events in this, so the auto slotting was very easy. But rest assured, this can handle many thousands of events and do it quite nicely. That saves a lot of time. Now, should you not agree with something that the auto slotter did, you can very easily come right back into events here, and maybe we wanted the Women in Gaming panel to be at a different time. So I'll just hit schedule. I will remove the existing schedule, and let's just go ahead and find a new schedule. Maybe I wanted that one on Saturday instead. So we'll do Saturday at 10 a.m. And sure enough, there is a spot for it, so we go ahead and throw that in there. So it's very simple to change anything that it got wrong or that we didn't like how it scheduled it. Now, from a attendee's point of view, they want to go buy those badges. One thing we need to set up, though, is back when we were defining badges, we created this very important gamer badge. And we wanted them to be able to get in early to events. Now that we've enabled events, we can actually go in and change this so that it is an early access badge. So we're just going to go ahead and switch this to early access. We didn't have this option before because we hadn't enabled events yet at that point. But now that we have enabled events, we can enable this option. And so now this badge, if they purchase it, will be able to gain access to events before everybody else can. And so how we do that is we actually go in and finish this out. We can enable event submissions and ticket purchasing. We already did the event submissions. They're open. But we have, for ticket sales, we actually have two options here. We can either open ticket sales completely, or we can open ticket sales just for early access badges. So that would allow people with that VIG badge to go in and start buying tickets right now, whereas everybody else will be able to add those to their cart, but will not be able to check out at this point because we want to let those VIGs have first pick of everything that they want to play. So we're going to go ahead and open early access ticket sales, and we've done that. So at some point in the future, we can go in and open up regular ticket sales for other people, but right now it's that only. And at that point, we are done with this checklist. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that. And if we ever need to change it, we can come back into the settings and re-enable that checklist, but we don't need that anymore. At this point, let's just talk about how a customer would buy a badge. So they're going to come in, and again, anybody can buy a badge right now, not anybody can buy tickets. So I'm going to go ahead and buy a very important gamer badge because that does allow me to buy tickets the way we've got it currently set up. You can see, yes, indeed, it is an early access badge. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and get an XL t-shirt. I'm also going to buy one of these for my wife. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in, and she is a small, so we'll go ahead and do that. And so now the two of us have our badges in our cart. We can go ahead and take a look at what's in the schedule for tickets. I know for sure that we both want to go see this event, and we'll go back to the schedule here. Let's see. We both like The Captain is Dead. So we'll both play that. However, my wife likes Settlers of Catan. I'm not so much on that, so we'll just get her a ticket for that one. And you can see we're very quickly building out a schedule here. As attendees, we can see what it is that we're scheduling. We can see whether or not anything overlaps. If we decide, we don't want to go to something, like maybe there's a schedule conflict. So even though my wife really likes The Captain is Dead, she's going to go do something else at that time. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of her ticket for that, and we can continue building out our schedule that way. We can even see our schedule, even though we haven't checked out yet. We can go to the My Schedule page and even see it right now. We can see that I have submitted a couple of events that I need to run, so there's that. And then also we can see that I have a cart here, and I've got badges that are in a cart, and I've also got events that are in the cart. And she's got her own stuff over here. You can see that those are two different schedules. So we can even see that even though we haven't checked out, we can already see our schedule. But at this point, we are ready to check out, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. At this point, I can look over my entire purchase. I do have these things going on here. Our Women in Gaming are free. Captain is Dead is $1.50, and the Settlers of Catan is $2. So let's go ahead and pay with this. We have to put in a credit card. I will, for the purposes of this, just use a fake credit card because I don't want you guys to see my credit card number. Not that I don't trust you, but I don't. And we'll go ahead and fill this in with all this information. Now, the cool thing is that this is going to save this card in my profile so that if I want to come back later and add more tickets in or more badges, I don't have to fill out that information again going forward. I'm just ready to purchase. Likewise, next year, I come to buy a new badge for this same event next year. I have my credit card information stored here. All that information is stored very, very securely, not on our own servers, but actually with the credit card company itself. So you're not having to worry about security breaches where somebody could break into our servers and steal that credit card information. It's locked down with the highest security possible at the credit card company itself. We're just getting tokens that we're passing back and forth, so it's very, very safe. So we'll go ahead and pay for that with our credit card. And as a attendee, we'll get a receipt emailed to us. But we also have this digital receipt. And we can see what things that we've got going on here. So maybe at some point my wife decides she's not coming with me, so I'm going to bring my friend Jamie with me instead. So I can go ahead and very easily change the name on that badge because I'm bringing a different friend with me than I originally intended to. So that's pretty simple and straightforward, and those are in there and no big deal at this point. Now, as a convention organizer, I can actually go over here to the badges screen and I can see what badges have been registered so far. And this is also where you could start a check-in process too. If you wanted to run a registration desk, this is one way to run a registration desk, is off of this screen. So when people come to pick up their badge, you can hit check-in, and now you know that they have come to pick up their badge, that sort of stuff. You can come in and edit the details of their badge if you want to. You can come in and see what tickets that have been purchased for this badge, so you've got lots of good details there. You can also click on a receipt and see the original receipt that the customer had. And you can also come over here to financials, and you'll actually have a full transactional ledger of all of the financials that have transpired throughout your entire con. So you have that detail, which you can export as CSV, and you can also see an overview right here. Now, if we go back to badges, I didn't point this out before, but we do have all of these stats here too for how many registrants you have so far for your convention. And this is kind of a cool feature. You can actually see what badges are in carts but not checked out yet, so you can get a good idea of what might be coming. As with the financials, you can export your list of badges here. So if you wanted to take that to a third-party badge printer, you could do that, although Tabletop Events can print your badges for you. In addition, if you go out to the schedule, you can also export a CSV here of the schedule, and this will allow you to print a printed program if you wanted to, or import this into any kind of screen system for display at the event. It also allows your attendees to download this into a spreadsheet on their own, so that they can maybe pick out the different kinds of events that they want to go to without even using your site. So, or if they wanted to build a custom app, they could do that. So that, in a nutshell, is the system for registering badges. You also saw user submission process. You saw selling tickets and badges, and you can see all the financials. So this is in a fairly concise video what you get when you sign up for Tabletop Events. And of course, we're adding new features all the time. So as you pick up Tabletop Events, you're starting off with this really impressive feature set right from the get-go, but you're getting free upgrades all the time. Every time we put out a new release, you're getting it. All the conventions all over the world are getting it, and we're sharing this technology with everyone. So it's really a good way to collaborate and get some really good technology on your side without paying any money up front. So I hope that was useful, and if you have any questions, by all means reach out to info@Tabletop.Events, or you can fill out a form right here, and you can ask questions like how do I set up a convention? And it will give you some tips on how to create a convention. And if you can't figure it out from whatever it told you here, you can always send a message to us and fill that out and ask a question, and we'll get right back to you. So thanks for watching, and happy conventioning.